So let's start with this webinar. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. We will present to you today the workshop on Jumpstart ChromeOS. So before we start, I'll ask everyone to mute their mics for a better experience. Also, if you have any questions during this webinar, you can always use the chat or raise your hand, but we will always have a time for you in the end of the webinar so you can ask the questions answered along the way. The lineup for today, we will start with Chima, our Business Development Manager, also Sergio Lopez, our Operations Director, and we have very special guests with us, Tazia and John from HP that will present their portfolio. The agenda, Chima now will start with our presentation of Nubalia Part of Devoteam.
Hello everyone and welcome. Well, first I will introduce Nubalia Part of Devoteam. Nubalia started in Spain, in Europe, about 10 years ago. And we started as a cloud consulting company and one of the first to offer those services in the country. But we have grown a lot since then because we now have more than 2,000 clients. We are fully working with Google hand to hand, and for some years, we are Google Premier Partner. And we have more than 200 Google professional certifications. We have more than 8,000 professionals across Europe and a presence in 18 countries and expanding. The idea of this webinar is to show you what ChromeOS can do for you. Since the beginning of this year, we have been part of a multinational company called Devoteam. A leading consulting firm focuses on digital strategy, tech platforms, cybersecurity, and business transformation with more than 25 years of experience. We believe in technology as a positive force, driving a transformation for the better. We are big enough to support our customers' transformation at scale and small enough to be agile and responsive to our clients, regardless of where they are located, their business industry, or size. Our aim is to help you achieve a highly effective transformation that will have a significant and measurable impact. Our main belief is that companies should think and behave as tech players to thrive. To do so, we focus on two key principles: platform adoption, building a very strong technological foundation based on cloud platform; studio model, the dynamic competition, the uncertainty of your business environment, and ever-evolving customer demands require permanent adaptation. We consider cloud-based platforms and the studio model to be the two most powerful levers for achieving full and rapid digital transformation. We don't just rely on technology platforms, we go beyond their power to tackle our clients' strategic challenges. In Devoteam, we work with 6 areas of expertise: digital business and products, data-driven intelligence, cloud in all its aspects, whether it's sovereign, multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, or distributed cloud. Business automation, cybersecurity, last but not least, sustainability is enabled by digital, which is about leveraging digital tools to achieve sustainable development goals. At Devoteam, we take our clients on a continuous innovation journey over time. Operating directly in the cloud enables you to benefit from the regular new features of cloud providers. With our circular continuous innovation approach, we ensure that our clients' digital products are always up and running, efficient, secure, and optimized. That's what makes our end-to-end approach so powerful. Now I give the word to my colleague, Sergi.
Thank you very much, Chima, and welcome everyone. I'm going to share my screen now with you guys. Okay. Can you see the screen? All good?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So we are going to talk about Chrome OS and some of the features that we can find in this operating system. Chrome OS was developed by Google almost 10 years ago, a long time ago, and it's been evolving since then, and it's been great since then because they've been adding a lot of features and functionalities that they didn't exist at the beginning. It is based on the Linux kernel, which is a really strong operating system. So many of the drivers and many compatibility things that we can use in Chrome are due because of this compatibility. It's based on Linux kernel, so it's more easy to use in some ways. It's very user interface oriented, meaning it's very visual. It's an operating system, very light, and is one of its features is that it's very easy to use, and we can use it without any knowledge of it. It's mainly oriented to work in the cloud. So the devices, the Chromebooks that we are going to talk about later, and our colleagues from HP are going to show us later. Many of the devices are very light, and they don't have many powerful resources because they are oriented to working directly in the cloud. They also support Android apps. So this is something that is becoming recently added, like last year or a couple of years ago, and it's been a huge success. So we can use Android apps within our Chromebooks. There is no expertise required to install a Chromebook device because it comes along installed from the distributors, but also it's very easy to restart or install it again. If you have any issues with the operating system, you can install it very quickly, and you can start again with the operating system working in the cloud, because all the information is going to be stored in the cloud. So you don't need many expertise or IT requirements to use it or to install it in case you have to restore it again. It can work with all of the Google APIs. So meaning we can develop a third-party application and adapt it to work in these devices, in the Chromebooks. So that way is what we call it a full operating system, because all these features, if we cannot find them directly in the Chrome OS, we can even integrate any of the apps we use in our business or in any other companies. We can integrate those into Chrome OS. So these devices, one of the features is that they are really, really fast. So as I said, they start in a few seconds, so we don't have to wait for installing or starting very slow because it needs to check any updates or anything like that. They start up really, really fast in less than 10 seconds, and we can start working in those 10 seconds directly in our email, in our documents, in our drive, so whatever we want. All the updates are very quick and they improve over time. So if you are thinking about, for example, in any other operating system, you think about updates, you think about slowing down the device for the future. In this case, it's just the opposite, because all these updates are based and are working towards the improvement of the operating system. And one of those improvements usually is the speed of the system. So basically means that every time you get an update, usually means the system is going to be faster and better and more secure. We can manage all these settings, all these things that we can do with the Chromebooks can be managed from the admin console. So I'm going to talk more about that later. But basically, when you use Chromebooks with the Chromebooks licenses, you can manage many of the features of the Chromebooks from the admin console. So you don't need a very big IT team to start working with Chromebooks, because you can start right away with it. You can start working with your documents. And also some of the other features that we can talk about here in Chrome OS or with the Chromebooks is that one of my favorite features that is not mentioned here is the sandboxing of all the processes that work in Chrome OS. So that means whenever I open a new tab in a Chrome, that tab that is executed is running individually as isolated from the rest of the operating system. So in case I access a malicious website or I try to get a virus or anything like that, it's going to be isolated by default in this operating system. Everything is running isolated from its other process. We can share these devices very easily because all the information about the users is encrypted individually in these devices. So it doesn't matter if we can share a device with other people, other colleagues, because all the information that we store in these devices are going to be is going to be isolated and it's going to be encrypted individually in the user's profiles. So this guarantees all the privacy and security for all the users that we use with the Chrome devices. We can even have this guest mode or kiosk mode, which is very interesting. With the guest mode, we can have a session that is also encrypted, that don't share any information within the rest of the users, but any other people that is not registered in our company can use these devices. Or the kiosk mode, which we can set up the Chromebooks to being used in a meeting room, in a hotel, in an event. So we don't need to log in with a username and a password, but we can set them up to be able to use them. Some of the apps we want to configure there. So everything can be done in these Chrome devices to be used like this way. Also, it's very interesting to mention that apart from the integration via the APIs that I mentioned before, we also have access to all the web applications that we can develop via API or via link. We can also install all the apps that we can find in the Google Play Store. So that opens up a whole world of possibilities for these devices. So not only we are going to be able to use the main Google Workspace apps or third-party apps, but also we are going to work with all the apps that are available in Google Play. So as I said at the beginning, we can install these Android apps and third-party apps that are going to be part of my Chrome device, and all the information is going to be there secure, and it's going to be safe to work on these apps. Also, we have access to the Chrome Web Store, which is mainly for the browser, and that means that all the extensions, add-ons available for Chrome browser are going to be available for Chromebook devices. Again, it's another whole world of possibilities that we can manage and install in our Chrome devices. And all these apps, third-party apps, Google Play Store apps, Chrome Store extensions or add-ons can be managed from the admin console in Google Workspace. So meaning we have the control of what is installed in these devices and what can be used in these devices. Another important feature of the Chromebooks is that enables virtualizations in these devices. So we can run any virtualized environments, such as one, for example, these examples, Ethiopia, VMware, Amazon Workspace, sorry, or anything else, Citrix. If we use Citrix, we can run those applications in the Chrome devices, which is very powerful because we can have not very powerful Chrome device, but we can have access from here to all these virtualized applications. So we can use devices with less resources to implement these kind of projects because they won't need very big specifications to run all these virtualized environments. We could use Chromebooks on this type of projects to reduce the investment in devices for these virtualization projects. Well, device management, this is what I mentioned before. We can manage the Chromebooks from the admin console in Google Workspace with licenses. It's called the Chrome Enterprise license. So once we get this license and we add it to our Google Workspace console, we can start managing these devices, which means that we can do many things over the Chromebooks and remotely. So we can manage, monitor, apply policies. These are some examples of the things we can do with these policies. We can restrict the login, lock devices, configure the networks, the Wi-Fi, the hardware options. So we can enable a camera, disable the camera. We can allow the use of the USB ports, the audio. all these things we can set from the admin console, so we can benefit from this management powerful tool, which is the Chrome Enterprise licensing. And we can do this remotely from our admin console. There are more than 200 policies, I think, and these policies can be applied to the users and to the devices. The devices policies are going to prevail over the users policies. So that means we don't need to have one device per user, but we can share these devices across our company. And that would mean it would be a reduction in our investment if we put these devices into our company, because we can share them very easily. And as I said before, all this information for each user is going to be encrypted, it's going to be isolated in its users' profiles. In order to use this Chrome Enterprise license, you can do it if you are already using a Chrome device in your organization, or if you are getting new devices, you can do it from the beginning. It's basically a combination of letters. You put some parameters there, and you can enroll this device into your admin console. It's a very easy process to do, but you are going to need this Chrome Enterprise license in order to do that. And once you've done that, you will be able to access all these settings, all these configurations that I've been talking about. And then your device is going to be really secure in your admin console, and you are going to have the control over these devices. So apart from all that, that's been the quick introduction about ChromeOS. I'm going to talk to you about the Jumpstart ChromeOS, which is the program we offer in Nubalia Part of Devoteam as a service. So if you are thinking about all these, pandemic issues we've been suffering for the past months, the Chrome OS or Chrome devices might be a really good possibility for your employees. So in Nubalia Part of Devoteam, we have what we call the Jumpstart ChromeOS program, which means that we can, save money deploying these devices in your organization, because these devices are not very expensive. We are going to know more about it later with our HP colleagues. They are very easy to use, very easy to store. They have a large battery. They have everything we need to start working in our organization. And what we offer in Nubalia is a plan with the company. How are you going to start using these devices? What are your needs? What do you need in the future for your employees? What kind of devices are you going to get? And we plan together these specifications based on your needs. And then we run a project of launching these devices and deploying these devices into your organization. And we do a follow-up with you, including, face-to-face sessions in case you need it, online sessions, technical support, and all that, in order to make sure you make the most use of these devices and you deploy them properly in your organization. We can help you, planning this deployment, giving you admin training for your admin console people that is going to manage those devices. We can provide you, more training about the Chromebooks themselves, safety recommendations, and all these things that we can apply and we can share with you in your organization. So then you have nice and proper deployment of these Chrome devices within your organization. This is the methodology we use. We kind of have meetings with you. We plan what your needs are, what you would like to achieve with these Chrome devices. We then run these devices, start deploying them within your organization, and then we prepare documentation and training and online sessions and on-site sessions for you to get the most out of it. And then we can do a follow-up of the project, and depending on your needs, we can even dedicate people to your deployment, or even having online sessions or technical support always ready from the Nubalia team. I'm going to give the word to our HP colleagues, because they are going to talk about the devices they have available for these kind of projects, and they are going to talk about Chrome devices. So I'm going to give the word to Siyanda and John.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. How are you doing? How's everyone doing this morning? Or this afternoon, rather?
Good.
Very
I'm just
good. Thank you.
getting started here. Da, 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 da. Okay, give me a second. Da, 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 da. Let me share again. So share the window, share. Da, 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 da. This should be the one, I hope. Can you see my screen? I think that's a popular phrase that everyone should love to
Yes.
hear.
Yes, we can.
Let me just presenter mode. There we go.
You
So
also, sorry, Jan, before you start, you're supposed to ask first, can everybody hear me? Okay.
I
So-
did. I did.
Ah, so I missed it. Okay, cool.
And I think with time, I think everyone can hear me. Thank you everyone for joining us. I'm Sianda Mvimbeli, and you just heard John as well, who's my colleague. And I'll be taking you through a high level view of our education products in the Chrome space, and then John will be specifically looking at our commercial products in the Chrome space. So this is basically what I call the education of the future, right? So these are our education products, and if you're not familiar with our naming conventions or our products, so you'll see here this is the Chrome lineup. Wherever you see the words EE, you should know that this means basically HP's Education Edition, and then you'll always see if it's Intel, MediaTek, and in some cases you'll even see the AMD lineup. When you see X360. Just always know that it's a convertible device, so you can use it as a tablet, it's touchscreen, and so on. We also have devices specifically for students or learners, which are these over here. And we also have devices specifically for teachers, which is this one here, which is the Chromebook 14. So basically the difference is the education devices that are specific for education. You'd always notice that we speak about ruggedness. You'll always hear us speak about how it adapts to learning, how it's designed for someone to actually learn or teach. When we speak about the teacher devices specifically, you always see that the screen is slightly bigger. It's like a 14-inch versus the 11-inch devices that we design for actual learning. And then over here, we generally speak about performance. Connectivity is very important these days, and so forth. This, by the way, this Chromebook 14 device, yes, we're positioning it as a teacher device specifically, but it can also be used in the commercial space as sort of like an entry level kind of device, just FYI. So that one, don't just limit it to education, but you can sort of look at it as an entry level commercial product as well. So as we all know, I mean, the way that we teach and learn has changed drastically as to 2 years or 3 years ago. A lot of things have changed. We've also changed the way that we create our devices in order to obviously be relevant in the current environment that we are in. So for example, our devices are designed in order to accelerate the digital education that we find ourselves in today. I mean, we all know about the blended approach, how people are studying from home or teaching from home, and one day they're at school and so forth. So our devices, and you'll see as I speak through them as well, the features that we have on the devices are designed for that kind of learning and teaching. And you'll notice here that we're saying that 46% globally, we've increased our shipments of devices specifically for teachers and students. And I foresee that more and more of this will happen as we go into the future. And you'll see that 66% of teachers expect an increase in sort of this blended approach of teaching or learning that we're seeing today. So it's still going to be around for quite some time. And there's constantly an increase and a change in different countries in terms of how people teach and how students learn as well. So the other important thing that we need to realize as well is that education nowadays is happening everywhere. You could be in a classroom, or you could be in a lab, you could be in a kitchen table, or you could be in a bedroom. So our devices are designed, again, you'll see later when I show you some pictures of the devices and some features of the devices, that it's actually designed to transition you throughout these processes. So whether you're learning in a classroom and just need a clamshell device, or you're in the bedroom and need a tablet at that point in time, or you're in a coffee shop, or library, the device is sort of designed to take you through all those kind of different phases of your day-to-day life. Before I get into the features of the product and so on, I just want to highlight what is actually needed by students or by learners. So when you look at maybe, for example, the K5 and the middle school kind of kids as well, you'll see again this ruggedness pops up quite a lot, and I'll share some information with you on ruggedness. Security pops up a lot, and then when you go up to the high school and sort of the older guys, you'll see that ruggedness isn't that important because probably they're more responsible than the younger ones. So the devices in that space will probably consider performance, security, and even design more. So again, the devices are not only designed to fit that specific environment or that time of your day, but it's also designed for that specific age and what they need to do at that point in time, and what is really important for them at that point in time. So you'll see on the left here, I've got the Chromebook 11. You might have seen in the first slide that for students or learners, we specifically look at 11-inch, and then for guys older and teachers, we're looking at 14-inch. So this is the world's thinnest 11-inch rugged Chromebook device, which is our 11-inch device. It has been tested in so many ways, and I'll show you on the next slide as well. But I think the most important testing that I like to speak about is specifically to the drop test. So you'll see that we've tested and passed the 122 centimeter drop test that is conducted on the devices, and you'll know like 122 centimeters is more or less like the height of a standard school table. So we've tested the device falling or being dropped from that height in order to make sure the ruggedness, especially for the younger ones, that it's fully ruggedized. And yeah, you'll see other things as well, like spill resistant is very important, and it's not only water, but it's also what we call foreign substances. I mean, that could be like your cool drink or your coffee or anything along those kind of lines. It is full-on spill resistant. It is wipeable, which is very, very important these days. And I think parents should know that more than anyone, that you can actually sanitize our devices using the ordinary sort of sanitizing equipment that you use at home. You can easily just wipe with a wipe on your device, and bam, you're good to go. We also have extensive ports on the devices, and let me maybe show you on the next slide. If we look at the 11-inch devices and the type of ports that we have. So for example, we have an audio jack there. It might be like a simple thing, but I mean, we all know when you buy this kind of device, and then like we mentioned earlier, it's a very cost-effective device, so you're not looking to spend quite a lot of money. So we've got an audio jack there, for example, so you don't need to be paying for a wireless headset or anything like that. We've got the USB there, and we've got a USB-C connector as well, meaning that you can charge there, you can transfer your data, and you can use it as a display port as well if needed. And again, I'd just like to brag again that this is the world's thinnest 11-inch rugged Chrome book for education that you're going to find in the market today. It's only about 19 millimeters in terms of thinness. So the standard one, which is our normal 11-inch, can do 180 degrees, so you can put it flat on the table. What's very important about that is for collaboration. It's a very key collaboration feature. If kids are having a conversation or whatever, one can just put it down on the table and everyone can just huddle around and start to have that conversation. And then obviously with the X360 version of the device, you can turn it around. It's touch screen, it's a tablet if you need it to be, and so forth. So cleaning, I've discussed this, but again, I think it's really, really important that 63% of parents are very worried about cleanliness, sanitization, especially during this COVID time, right? This is a key feature that we need to be speaking about, that you can use your normal kind of sanitizing things that you use at home on the devices and to wipe it clean and make sure that it is germ-free. So just to touch on 4 like durability features that we have on the devices, because again, you saw that it is quite important that the devices are rugged, and it is what students are looking for in the space. You've heard about the drop test that we do, that we've passed as well. We also do a temperature test. It's tested for up to 60 degrees. So I mean, when the device, it's not going to overheat, or I mean, it's not going to melt in heavy heat situations. I've spoken about the water resistant keyboard as well, and the fact that you can protect more than 1 millimeter of foreign objects. Yes, that's the term. So foreign objects like your cool drink, your sodas, and all those kind of things. It has been tested for that. And of course, the vibration test as well. I think with the guys running around the whole day and, you know, throwing their bags everywhere, it is quite important to understand that it's past the vibration test, and a drop test for that matter. So this is just a quick picture of the same device, which is an 11-inch device, but this is the X360 format of it. I did explain earlier that if whenever you see X360 on HP devices, it just means that it can fold X360. And what's important about that as well is you can use it as a tablet full on. You can use it with a pen. It makes it just much more easier when you are learning, that you're not just taking in information, but with a pen and touch screen, you can actually edit, you can create your own content and share content. And it sort of helps with the education process as well, when you can do those kind of things. I just want to touch on the 14-inch device again. And like I said, on the 14-inch device, yes, we're positioning it as an educator device, but it is also sort of like an entry-level Chrome device on the commercial side. And John will be taking us shortly through the other products that are in the commercial space. So what are important for teachers, and what should we be considering when we actually trying to configure a device for teachers? So design is quite important. Ruggedness not as important as the education edition devices, but privacy is very important as well, and I'll share a key feature there. And performance as well is quite important. Okay. Oops. Yeah. So HP enables and empowers teachers. And how do we do that? For example, I said the 14-inch screen is a good feature for teachers or someone that's going to be sharing. So not as much someone that's consuming. So someone can actually come to their desk. They can see better on a 14-inch when they're sharing. They can use the HDMI on the device to quickly show something on a monitor or display it somewhere else. Reliable Wi-Fi. I mean, I spoke about this earlier, that connectivity is very, very important these days, more than it was 2 years ago. So with our Wi-Fi 6 technology, it allows you to be connected all the time, and with good connectivity as well. The long battery life, I think we spoke about that earlier as well, that these devices are devices that are very good in terms of battery life. With these ones specifically, you can easily charge 90% of the device in about half an hour's time, and that could last you easily for a school day. And then, of course, there's some security features. And the one security feature that I really want to highlight here before John starts with the commercial product is the privacy camera. Obviously, I mean, we might take it lightly working in our spaces that you switch it off, when it's on, when it's off. But in the education department, it might be a bit different. So our camera has an optional privacy shutter on the 14-inch. So you'll definitely know when it's off and when it's on, because you can actually sort of shutter it down yourself. And then what we have here is just a walkthrough of the 14-inch Chromebook device. And like I said earlier, I mean, it's 14-inch. It makes it just much more easier for someone that's going to be teaching, and someone maybe that's going to be sharing. For example, we've got there the the HDMI port that you can easily just plug in, and you can start sharing and you can start teaching as quick as possible. So with that said, I would like to just hand over to John.
Hello. Right. So thank you, everybody. So thanks for joining the call. So it's just my time and my opportunity to take you through to the HP Chrome Enterprise Commercial Portfolio. So just to, sorry.
Hello.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so obviously, I mean, we've seen a big boom in education on the Chrome devices. And I think a few years ago, obviously Google identified that, the enterprises have a slightly different requirement than what your typical education department would need. So they've added some additional features. I mean, things around, particularly focused around security of the devices. Now, Sergey's already mentioned some of these features that are quite key. And I think Sianza also mentioned, I mean, the picture here particularly showing the SureView camera. We've got some additional features built into some other devices as well, which I'll cover in the next couple of slides. But more importantly, manageability, very, very critical. Obviously, I think since the COVID pandemic, I think a lot of organizations did have some mobile strategy in place already. But with the big drive initially when COVID broke, with a lot of people working from home, working from remote offices, the security and the manageability is becoming more and more important. If people working at home, they're no longer based at the office behind a secure VPN. It's how they access the network, and also how the IT manager, addresses the manageability of these devices. So these are some of the additional features that were built into the Enterprise Edition of Google Chrome. Along things terms like scale. From an HP point of view, we have representation in about 170 different countries worldwide, out of which, I'll stand in the correction, but about 50 countries are certified by Google to sell Chrome devices. So we can offer that scale to customers as well. We have coverage within different countries. Also just want to point out that right now, and this is a Google, limitation, right now South Africa is the only country that is actually eligible for Chrome devices. So just want to point it out. And then engagement. I mean, if you look at it from a customer experience point of view, I think more and more people have modern devices at home, and they typically expect something that offers the same sort of convenience, same sort of form factor, same sort of performance at home as they would do in an office environment. So they're looking for something of equivalent performance as it would in an office versus a home environment. Okay, so as I said, 2019, Google decided to introduce Chrome. And so what they did was it took some of the user experience that we currently have with the standard Chrome operating system. So again, very easy to use, very easy to run, very easy to maintain, very secure, very cost efficient. Make no mistake, there's a big cost saving to be had on Chrome devices versus some of the competitors' devices, should I say. Some of these features Sergey has mentioned. So 200 plus user device policies was added, more security features, and I've actually got a table on the next slide, which compares side by side the differences between the standard Chrome and the Chrome Enterprise Edition. But obviously that gives you then the Enterprise Chromebook devices that we now launched 2-3 years ago. Okay, so this slide then really just to give you a side-by-side comparison of what the Chrome operating system does versus the Chrome Enterprise. As I mentioned, Sergey's already mentioned some of these different features, but I think I just want to highlight some key factors. Obviously, I mean, if you look at some of just the quick naming, manageability is key, particularly around the Google Play Store. You don't want your user accessing the Google Play Store, installing all type of different applications. You want to be able to control that, and the Chrome Enterprise allows you to do that. Things like Microsoft Active Directory integration, very important to integrate into a network. Single sign-on support, just again from a user experience, from a customer point of view, just again making it a little bit more user-friendly. Kiosk mode, very, very key, which basically allows the IT manager to lock the device down and maybe like run one dedicated application at a time without having different applications running at the same time. So limited to one application. And again, Sergey mentioned that it's all running in different in almost in its own virtual machines. So again, from a security point of view, it gives you that added benefit that you wouldn't get on some of the other operating systems. Then I just want to touch upon the portfolio. So I've mentioned, around the mobility. Obviously, a lot of the enterprise organizations are moving towards mobile, being to work from home, coffee shops, airports, whatever the requirement is. So obviously, there's a big drive on notebooks, but we still have the Chromebooks as well. We have a desktop-based form factor, Chromebooks Enterprise. We have this, thank you very much, Sianda. We have the C645, the AMD-based version of the 600 range, or the C640 and the C1030. So, and we have some mild internal competition, but honestly, I think my device has a much better looking than the other device. I'm just putting it out there. Okay, so in the next couple of slides, I'll go into a little bit more details, just to cover, to give insights in particularly around the products. Start off with the Chromebooks. As I said, maybe not the biggest seller right now because there is a big drive towards mobility, but we're still seeing customers that don't have the requirement for mobility. They're still cost saving is key, and we still have this Chromebox offering as well. So very, very small. It's kind of hard to say, but if you can just look at me, it's kind of like 15 by 15, 14.93 to be exact. So it's very, very small, very, very light. And if you look at it, it's quite easy to install behind a display or to put on a desk. Obviously, again, we're seeing that in the I said the good old days when we're still working at the office. Our desk space we're getting smaller and smaller. Therefore, a small footprint for this device actually helps it as well. It just gives you a little more space to work on a desk. Security, as I mentioned before, very critical on the enterprise environment. So we do have a full stack of security included as well. And then also some future proofing with USB-C ports. We're seeing more and more devices, whether it be docking station, even some of the monitors. Monitors now USB-C. Again, just to reduce the clutter that you have with different cables. So the USB-C cord supplies both the VGA, the display signal, and the power signal. So again, just reducing the clutter that you would have on your desk. And obviously resilience. I've spoken about the kiosk mode. You can operate this thing 24/7, 7 days a week. Yes, 7 days a week, 30 days a month, and it just runs non-stop from a reliability point of view. Okay, then I just want to touch on the the Chrome C645. So made out of aluminium. Sian has spoken about the mil-spec testing that we do. There's 19 different tests. There's some really extreme tests from a temperature, temperature variation. They blow sand, dust on these things, obviously to make sure that the product is reliable. Thank you. Reliable and sturdy as possible, but still maintaining the lightness and the thinness of the device. Again, if you look at it, it's ultra light. It's 1.5 kilograms, obviously depending on configurations, but also super thin, 60 millimeters, so 1.6 centimeters. So very thin. And it's really the way that the industry is going, right? I mean, if you go back a few years, the notebooks tend to be quite thick, quite bulky. Obviously now with things like USB-C ports, the ports, connectivity ports being smaller, allows the devices to be becoming thinner and smaller and lighter as we go along. Sianda spoke about the remote camera. So we do have the privacy camera. So there's a little slider that you slide across that you can block the camera so people can't, or hackers wouldn't be able to access your camera and capture keystrokes. 180-degree flat screen, so you can open it right up. It's not a 360, so we'll get to the 360 now. So just need to be very careful with that. And this is based on the latest AMD processor. So, and I'll just want to be open. I mean, AMD always historically has struggled against Intel processors, but recently, since they started introducing the Ryzen-based processor, which these devices are based upon, from a performance cost-saving point of view, AMD has a really, really good story to tell. So it's maybe something that I would look at if I was you, because they do have a good message when it comes to cost versus performance versus the competition. So that is then, and just to explain the naming convention. So the 6 is obviously the series, the 4 is the size of the display, and the 5 basically means it's a AMD based processor device. Then just want to touch on the C640. And in essence, it's the the Intel equivalent of the C645. It's pretty much the same. You still have the privacy camera. If you want to add a fingerprint reader for that additional security level, you can do that. It's got Bang & Olufsen audio, 14-inch display. We have different options when it comes to the displays. It can either be touch, non-touch, bright view, anti-glare. We have multiple different options available that you can configure to meet your specific customer requirements. Something that I do want to touch on was obviously the connectivity. Again, Sergi and Sian have mentioned that the work that the customer will be doing is primarily going to be cloud-based. You want to make sure, obviously, connectivity is key. It's critical to be connected all the time. So you have things like Wi-Fi 6, and also some of the devices we can offer LTE or 3G adoption as well. So just to add an additional feature. Then just want to quickly point out some of the accessories that we have. And I'm a big fan of docking stations just to kind of complete an office environment. I don't like being mobile and coming back to the desk and you have to plug in a monitor, plug in a power cord, plug in a mouse, plug in a keyboard. So I'm a big fan of having a docking station. Everything plugs into the docking station and just one cable connectivity. And obviously, with the devices becoming thinner and lighter, some of like the other ports have been removed, like the VGA port, RJ45. But we do have different adapters as well that gives you that additional connectivity. Should, for example, the customer still want wired connectivity and so forth. So still have those adapters available as well. Then I just want to touch on the really super cool enterprise product that we have. It's the C1030 Chromebook. So Siana spoke about the form factor. So this is also an X360. So with the full touchscreen display, and again with different features or different options around it. So yeah, I can read it to you. Beautifully crafted for incredible ChromeOS experience. But I mean, and it's hard to kind of do the device justice by the pictures, but it's a really, really stunning device. Super thin, ultra light, super powerful. Even going right up to. And to me, it's almost like overkill because Chrome is, and again, it was mentioned before, Chrome is not really that resource intensive, but we can spec it with like a Core i7 based processor if that's a customer required. But typically you'll find that's really just overkill for what the customer requirements would be. Always on power productivity collaboration. I spoke about the wireless LAN, the LTE connectivity. That's key. And obviously you can, because it's a touchscreen display, you can use it with a stylus as well. One thing that is quite important, it's one of our first devices that we have with a 3.2 aspect ratio display. So it gives a little bit more height, which enables it to be more applicable for web browsing type interfaces. So you can get to see more on one page as opposed to, typically when you browse, you'll find that you're browsing up and down. You're not so much browsing left to right. So the 3.2 form factor gives you more height to display, which makes it easier from a browsing experience. Then I just want to touch on some of the features specifically around the Chromebook 1030. So, we spoke about security. It's also has something as an option. It's something that can be installed at factory level, which is what we refer to as the privacy screen or the sure view display. So by the simple push of a button, it used to be the F2 button, but I think they've actually moved it. But simply push of a button, it basically almost like darkens the screen outside of a 45-degree angle. So if you're sitting in front of the display, you can see just fine what's being displayed. But for example, if you're sitting in a good example, if you're sitting in an airplane and you're doing budgets, you're working on some sensitive documents, and you have somebody sitting next to you, somebody can easily look on your screen and see what you're busy doing, right? And which you not always necessarily want to happen. What the privacy screen does is it actually darkens it outside at 45-degree angle. So people sitting to the left or to the right of you actually can't see what you're working on. And a simple push of the button, you disable it, enable it, and you're basically blocking the visual hackers from the side. Things like fingerprint reader, pretty much standard option that we have on our notebooks. And then the privacy camera that we've spoken about, this one's a little bit different on the how can I say, the more entry-level devices. It's a physical slider that you would move across the devices or across the camera. This is a little push button that you would just enable to block the camera. So a little slider button on the side of the notebook. So just to give a little bit more of a premium feel. Okay. Then also just want to touch on the design. We spoke a lot, and also bearing in mind where this product is positioned. This is typically positioned at your top CIO, top executive, and I'm not going to lie to you, it's not a cheap device compared to some of the competitors. It's obviously well priced, but it's obviously at the premium segment of that scale, and that's why we made sure that the device is really as stunning as it is. There you see it on the right hand side. If you look at the picture, it's in full X360 mode, and all the different angles you can use. Then we also have the HP Active Pen, the stylus. Some people, I'm not a big fan of it, to be honest, but if people, customers do like the stylus to be used, it is an option that is available. And if you look on the left hand side, So it's super thin. I think that's a dime or a nickel. I'm not too familiar with the American currency, but it's really super thin, super light. Again, for a customer that's going to be traveling a lot, that doesn't want something that's heavy. Sianda spoke about the fast charging up to 90% in 30 minutes. These are some of the additional features that we have on our premium devices. Right. Then lastly, just to summarize, so why HP Enterprise Chromebooks? And some of the features I've spoken about. I've spoken around the security, the control that we give with the additional management policies that have been introduced in the Enterprise Edition, and the hardware. The premium, the aluminum design, the latest Intel processor, and the additional audio. Collaboration is becoming more important that we have integrated with the Bang & Olufsen sound that we have. And with that, I shall say thank you very much, and that was me.